Hello, my baby gorillas. I hope I'm on here. Oh, no, I'm not. Oh, my goodness. I've screwed up already. Let's get back here. Where is this? The video capture. I got okay. Where is it? Oh my goodness, come on. Take it all. Just talk amongst yourselves. I'll be there in a minute. Device video capture. Create the capture device. Oh, here we go. Ah, we're on. We're on. Let's see if that's duplicated. Okay, okay. Let's reduce the size of me. Transition. Let's make it smaller. Hello, my baby gorillas. Sorry, bit of a screw up. I forgot that I had been doing my televising and my conference calls. There seems to be an echo. I need to get some sort of sound engineer. Let me just turn this down a bit. Sound engineer to prevent the echo from both the Zoom calls and also when I'm doing video capture live. So, what am I talking about today? Oh my goodness, let's see this. Oh, for goodness sake, honestly. So what are we talking about? Oh, we're talking about Anum Qaisar-Javed. So Anum Qaisar-Javed. Right. So let's have a wee chat about this. This young lady. Let's go on to Twitter. Let's see if we can copy this. Qaisar-Javed.
Shouldn't it?
Oh, and as you can see, we have actually got some sort of monetization on this. So let's have a wee look at this. And I was going to do this a number of months ago, but I think sometimes you have to give people time in case you misjudge them or you made a mistake. But I saw this accident waiting to happen. I absolutely saw this individual coming a mile off, and I will explain how we've got to this stage for Adrian Shorts. So there's wee Nippy there, the mad lesbo, beating up her girlfriend allegedly, not came back and actually clarified that that didn't happen. We've got Anum Qaisar-Javed MP. So this is our Twitter handle. Member for Parliament for Adrian Shorts. Health committee member, former teacher, independence, don't take casework via Twitter, email, etc, etc. I'm the newly elected SMP for Adrian Shorts. Has been thrown out of Parliament for calling Boris Johnson a liar, yet many in the Parliament regularly hand out contracts worth millions of pounds to their friends with little consequences. Make it make sense. Yeah, no, that's correct. They do that, and that's actually correct. Okay. So here we go. Now, before the election, Anum, I hope I pronounced that right. I'm not trying to butcher your name. It's just my dyslexia kicking in. Anum had been going on about she's a woman and a woman of colour, and that's what you should vote for me for. I think she's a Muslim as well. I don't know, obviously. No, I don't know what her religiosity is, but here she is speaking up for the people of Adrian Shorts, which is what she's meant to be doing. And obviously, her being a nationalist, she wants to obviously talk about Scottish people. No. Of course she doesn't, because A, the SNP are not a nationalist party, which I'll come on to in a minute, and B, the people who bring in these people to basically lord over them, who are not from here ethnically, want to bring in more people who look like them to actually displace the indigenous population. And I know that that might be hard to believe, but I'll prove in a second. And it's not even coming from her, it's coming from Wee Nippy, the childless alleged lesbian.
Just because you weren't born here or because you don't...
Oh, sorry guys, let me just get this.
Don't have a British passport. Just because you weren't born here or because you don't have a British passport...
Well, if you weren't born here and you don't have a British passport, you better be here under a works visa. Because if you weren't born here and you don't have a British passport, you shouldn't be here. You're an illegal immigrant and you shouldn't be here. You should be deported back to the country of origin. I've been deported from Dubai. So deportation's okay. You just go back to the country where you come from. You shouldn't be here if you're an illegal immigrant. But I'm going to explain why this is happening anyway. But nice to see this young lady who's now an MP for Airdrie Shorts more worried about people who are not from here than they are actually. She is actually talking about people from Airdrie Shorts, and she's the nationalist candidate. The nationalist candidate who wants to. I mean, she's hardly been there. She's only been there a few months, and she's already. In fact, we'll go back to her maiden speech in a second. So let's have a wee more listen to this. If you are, let me just go back again.
Just because you weren't born here or because you don't have a British passport doesn't mean you're not going to make a valuable contribution.
You shouldn't be here because that means you're an illegal immigrant. Just the same way you shouldn't be coming into my house illegally, you shouldn't be coming into the country illegally. And if you are doing that, that means the SNP, the nationalist SNP, are de facto open immigration party, like the Lib Lab Con party, like the Greens. So they think, oh, you can just turn up here and that's you in. That's what Wee Nippy, and which I'm about to prove in a second, that's where Wee Nippy and the globalist agenda is coming from. That's why she thinks for representing Airdrie Shorts and Lanarkshire, which, believe me, is 99% white, is absolutely wall-to-wall with white people, that they parachuted this individual in because they're the nationalist party to say that if you are just turning up here, that's you in.
Whether that's socially, economically, or politically.
You shouldn't be here, you're an illegal entrance and you should be deported.
Just because you weren't born here or because you don't have a British passport doesn't mean you're not going to make a valuable contribution, whether that's socially, economically, or politically.
Or we could go back to, let's have a wee look at the valuable contribution of the 3 people who were raping children in Huddersfield, shall we? Let's have a wee look at these guys. Huddersfield rape gang did nothing wrong. Oh, here we are here. Oh, Huddersfield grooming gang did not see girls as human. Oh, did they not? Oh, I'm sure these guys have made a valuable contribution here. 3 rape grooming gang jailed for raping schoolgirl in Huddersfield by devout 2 hours ago, 37 seconds. Police reinvestigate 2003 rape gang. Oh, does it? Oh, aye. 6 minutes ago. So this is on Yorkshire Live. So let me just make this bigger. So police reinvestigate Huddersfield grooming gang and 2003 gang rape. Examiner Live probe have caused police to reopen the cold case. As known as shag. So not only are they able to rape children, the sicko trio who raped girl in school playground bedroom. Right, I see the valuable contribution socially, economically, and our Huddersfield gang not deported. So, what we got here? Rochdale grooming gang member continue to fight deportation. So, we're paying for foreign nationals deportation, the ability for them not to fight deportation. Yet, Rochdale grooming gang members continue to fight deportation. So taxpayers' money are going to help foreign nationals to fight deportation. Two men who are part of the notorious grooming gang will fight deportation. One of them said they hadn't done anything wrong. So let's go on to look at the BBC. 50 foiled terrorist attacks. So there we go at the BBC. Now, as I said, I've said this before, but this only goes up to terrorist police, 50 attacks, stops in 7/7 by Nick Bleak, Home Office Affairs Correspondent, BBC. UK most senior counter-terrorist police officer has said up to 50 deadly terrorist attacks have been stopped since 7th of July bombing 10 years ago. All right, I see. So there was another guy. Let's see if we can get it in Google. So, where is it? How to prepare, detecting, dealing with terrorist attacks. So, where is this? Preparing for terrorist attacks. See, and what they're doing here as well, on search engines, they're actually they're covering up these things. They're actually covering up the actual terrorist attacks in the UK as well. On the search engines, terrorists preparing attack UK. So, I mean, you can see how this is not relevant. How to prepare in case of a terrorist attack, British Red Cross, national terrorists. So they're actually now prepared to mitigate impact of terrorist attack. So they're actually now putting things that are not even relevant to what the search engine is, so that you can't even search for them. Constant development of terrorism methods is also an unending challenge defending the country against terrorist attacks. So there was a guy recently who was preparing terrorist attacks. Express. There it is there. No, it's not. That's not it. This is another fellow in 2018. You can't even see that. This isn't it. London man, terror, unrest. Man 43 held on terrorism. A man from South London has been charged with preparing to carry out a terror attack. And that's 2018. But there was a guy more recently than that doing this as well. So let's go back. Well, get me out of here. So they're actually now covering up. They're actually ISIS. No, so then we've got another guy now sharing Man UK jail for sharing extremist videos, including Christchurch attack. British man been jailed for terrorist offences after sharing explosive manuals, extremist videos, including one apparently celebrating the New Zealand mosque massacre. So We've now got this. What's your name? What is this anyway?
Gemma.
That's a lovely name. How old are you, Gemma?
12.
Did you go to school around here?
Yeah.
Really mature for your age. Do you have a boyfriend?
Anyway, that's a bit weird in itself. So, what have we got? So let's go back to mine then. We've got this fellow now. This guy is from Canada. Oh, that's good. Canadian man says Islamic law to be implemented when Muslims are a majority. Abdul Amin Badila Phillips is a Canadian Muslim scholar who has been born as a Christian in Jamaica in 1947 and grew up in Canada, where he accepted Islam in 1972. He completed a diploma in Arabic and a BA from the College of Islamic Disciplines, at Islamic University at Madinah in 1979. As the University of Riyadh College of Education, he completed an MA in Islamic Theology in 1985, and in the Department of Islamic Studies at the University of Wales, he completed a PhD in Islamic Theology in 1994. Residing in Doha, Qatar, Bibil Phillips is regularly involved in mosques in Canada and abroad and speaking about teaching of Islam. The following excerpts of Bibil Phillips' sermon published on YouTube on August the 21st, 2016. Prophet Jesus, Isa, Arabic name for Jesus, peace be upon him, representing blah blah blah. Christianity is a distortion of Judaism, a distortion though in its roots Judaism was Islam, as in the roots of Christianity as Jesus taught it, it was Islam. Jesus represents the link between all three. Sharia is law of God and law. So Islam is theocratically fascist and totalitarian. It's also a political ideology as well. They wants to kill homosexuals, kill atheists, kill anybody that's not part of the child rapist death cult. So I don't know if this. Come on. So this guy is now obviously a Jamaican, and it's quite interesting as well. Obviously, if he's from Jamaica, I don't know what involvement the Muslims had selling the slaves in the transatlantic slave trade, but it'd be quite interesting if his ancestors were actually enslaved by other Muslims and then sold as slaves. Obviously, as I said, that he is part of that sort of diaspora. So what else we got? I love this as well. Yes, we Guerilla. I'll show this as well.
What's that? What have you been waiting for? Oh my gosh! Come here! Come here! I'll write to him. I got that on camera. What does it say? I can read it. Donald and Melania Trump, thank you for your wonderful letter. We are inspired by your kind words and heartened by your support. Our nation's bright future relies upon your leadership, commitment, and character. Do your best each day. Enjoy learning and never ever give up. Always remember you have family, friends, teachers, and coaches who care about you and will help you research your full potential. May God bless you and your family with the very best wishes, Donald J. Trump. Isn't that awesome? Are you crying? Why are you crying? He's happy. It's actually signed! Isn't that awesome? It's actually signed. I'm looking at this. What happened? Here, let me get your picture. Hold it.
So, a DUP councillor accused of racism after criticising asylum policy. We don't have an asylum policy. This is all being dictated to, which is why I'm surprised Nigel has not actually commented on this. This is all being dictated to, why is that not? the dictated to long before. Now, this is happening deliberately. The people are just turning up on the shores shouting Allah Akbar as if the UK is just open to anybody just turning up. And obviously Priti Patel's just lying to us, continually lying, because it was the Conservatives who signed the Barcelona process, the Union of the Mediterranean, and the treaty from Marrakesh on refugees to allow access by the large corporations to North America, North Africa and the Middle East, to expand the globalist agenda, to move into different areas of the world, and to ethnically cleanse through the use of mass immigration our own populace. So that's what's happening, and then bring it under this child rapist death cult. So this is apostate prophet who was a former Muslim who's changed. While Muslims call out and condemn Uthman bin Farouk from advocating for forcible subjugation and enslavement of non-Muslims. Forcible subjugation and enslavement of non-Muslims. That's everybody else who's not a Muslim. So it doesn't matter, Chinese, anything else that's not Muslim, you've got to be subjugated and forcibly enslaved. And Fat Bojo, whose family were part of the Young Turks who massacred people and the Christians in Byzantine, are allowing this to actually happen on their watch. So this is what the Muslims are saying. So to be absolutely clear, you agree that jizya should be imposed on all disbelievers, and if they refuse, they should be fought and their women and children enslaved. That's Al-Mansur. And they put, of course, so Uthman bin Farouk has put, of course, and I have already made all this clear, and as my dross, but you never reached out to me to ask me. So this is exactly Islamic teachings. This is what they've done country after country. And what our scumbag political class are doing is allowing this to actually happen here, where we've seen the stabbing of people on the streets in Glasgow, terrorist attack after terrorist attack. And that's thanks to Nippy. Now we've got this absolute doughball in charge of Ayrgie and Coatbridge being parachuted in as a nationalist. I don't know, maybe she's an Islamo nationalist who requires more people that look like her to be allowed to come over, who represent this guy who want to impose Islam in the UK. They've already, Hamza Useless. Let's see Hamza Useless. Hamza. So Hamza Yusuf has got a pride flag, although he's saying he's a Muslim. Where did he have? I'm sure he had a pride flag. Had a pride flag on there, although he's a Muslim, and it says in the Quran to actually kill non-Muslim, to kill gay people. Which obviously, if Nicola Sturgeon is a homosexual, they would actually kill her. So let's go back to this character. So this, Islamo-nationalism. Well, Islamo-fascist, certainly. Adolf is Islamo-fascist, definitely. And they're sticking to the Islamic teachings. So basically our country has been given away by the political class. Let's go back and see Nicola Sturgeon. Don't know if Calamity's still here. Hey. There we go, there's the main man there. So I don't know where this is. In fact, this is going to be absolutely hellish. So, So this is Young Calamity.
This Hogmanay, as we look forward to a new year, most of us will be relieved to be ringing out the old one.
That's not it.
Since I left Scotland almost a decade ago now, I've sat by and watched my country be split in two by an independence referendum. I've watched shit posters get...
Oh, this is going to be quite hard. I don't know if I can do it this way. Nicola Sturgeon. So this one. See, I'm telling you, they're actually, when you're actually searching for something, that it doesn't actually bring up the videos you actually want. Let's try a Google search. They are now shelving things that they don't want you to see. Anything that goes against their narrative is now getting deep dived, and you've got to deep dive for it. So that Nicola Sturgeon tells English move to don't move. What? Aware officer one. Oh, come on. And you can't actually find what you're looking for. School. Absolutely unbelievable. So let's go back to this. Let's go back. Oh man, honestly, let's go back to Young Calamity and see if he's got it.
About 10 years ago or so, I began to develop a vague interest in politics. I was also very misguided and ill-informed back then as well. I thought communism sounded...
So, where is it? Calamity. Oh, here we go. So,
Down again, eh? And not one peep about me being spotted in a pub without a mask on, eh? I didn't need a constant reminder of how much shite pours out in my gub. Anyway,
no,
I've already said I'm sorry for that.
Oh. Oh, here we go. We got it at last. Just shows you persistence actually pays off.
Beautifully crafted beds.
The children of Scotland would like to say thank you.
There we go.
Our view is anybody is welcome to come to Scotland. Where you come from doesn't matter. If you want to make Scotland your home, you are welcome, and we want...
So, but that's all very nice and well, and I'm not against immigration. But if you're allowing open immigration where people are, we don't know who they are coming in unchecked, and I don't believe in open immigration. I don't think anybody should just be turning up here and that's them without any checks or anything, any background checks. Let me show you how stupid this is. Let me just show you. If the Nazis had just said, right, okay, we're all refugee Nazis, we're all going to turn up in Scotland, and not through any armed conflict. We're just going to get rubber craft. We're going to save our refugees, and we're going to turn up in Scotland, and just not by invasion. All we need to do is say, well, we're here, and we're refugees, and we're now through Nicola Sturgeon, allowing anybody who just turns up here to vote. Everybody who just turns up here by dint of turning up as a refugee, not having any but de facto open immigration policy to follow our globalist overlords. She's basically taking the Edward Longshanks approach to Scotland and saying, yeah, there's too many Scots in Scotland. Not only can people who just turn up here vote now, they can also stand for Parliament. Lorna Slater, I don't know who the hell Lorna Slater is. When we go on to talk about the Greens on Sunday, we're not going to. We'll try and look back at who Lorna Slater is. Apparently, she just turned up here 10 years ago, and now she's a member of Parliament. Who is she? I don't know her. And now she's not going to give any. She doesn't feel obliged to actually talk to the press that's already here, i.e., the Guerilla TV channel. She thinks it's okay for her. She thinks she's in a privileged position to. Not actually talk to people who may hold a different opinion, because obviously Nippy doesn't. Nippy's right on board with the Black Power fist and all that. So Nippy's obviously just a sellout scumbag communist, like the Green Party, who are having to kid on the environmentalists when they're underlying communists, like Nicola Sturgeon, who says she's a nationalist, and then we're going to find out what she really thinks. You
to make a contribution. My party in a United Kingdom context is probably the most pro-immigration party of all.
But you've not had any children. So not only are you wanting to replace the indigenous population, and let's look at a few terms. Scottish legal definition of traitor. Treason, legal definition. The location of a traitor is not relevant as Lord Haw broadcast, demoralising the troops. High treason in the UK. Under the law of the United Kingdom, high treason is a crime of disloyalty to the Crown. Offences constituting high treason include plotting the murder of the sovereign, committing adultery with the sovereign's consort, with the sovereign's eldest unmarried daughter, or with levying war against the sovereign and adhere to the sovereign's enemies, giving them aid or comfort, attempting to undermine the lawful established line of succession. I think that's several other crimes have historically been categorised as high treason, including counterfeiting money and being a Catholic priest. High treason was generally but that's I think that's Treason Act 1707. In 1708, following the union of England and Scotland in the previous year, Queen Anne signed the Treason Act 1708, which harmonised the treason laws of both former kingdoms, effectively from 1st of July 1707. The English offence of high treason and misprision of treason, misprison of treason, but not petty treason, was extended to Scotland. The treasonable offence then exists in Scotland were abolished, where theft of land, men, murdering in breach of trust, fire raising. I thought treason was against the actual country. the procedure in trials for treason. The form of execution once suffered by traitors was often, though not inevitably, torturous. For men, the statutory penalty in England was to be hanged, drawn, and quartered. Women were excluded from this type of punishment and instead were drawn, then burned at the stake. Treason today. Almost all the treason-related offences introduced since the Treason Act 1351 was passed have been abolished or regulated to lesser offences. The Treason Act 1351, on the other hand, has not been significantly amended. The main changes involve the removal of counterfeiting and forgery, as explained above. For the state or law today, the seated offences above. In autumn 2001, since 9/11, the British government threatened British citizens who fought for the Taliban in Afghanistan against Anglo-American troops with prosecution of treason. I knew. So what is the prosecution, the legal definition of treason? Traitor, a person who betrays someone or something, such as a friend, a cause, or principle. He was a traitor to his class. So Nicola Sturgeon, instead of being a Scottish nationalist, could actually be described as a traitor to Scots by the use of mass immigration. Traitor, and also not reproducing. So there's a double whammy there. Traitor and legal definition of traitor, also found in Dictionary, Thesaurus, Encyclopedia. Traitor, crimes, one guilty. The punishment of a traitor is death. But what is the legal definition? Go back to this.
But there's also a practical reason for Scotland. Scotland is a country, and we're not unique in this sense, but the demographics of Scotland are quite challenging. Our birth rate is not growing at a fast enough
because
rate.
You haven't done anything. You've actually stopped. You're stifling growth, which is then not allowing people to have larger families. You've not produced any children yourself. Neither's Jana Cherry. We've got all these lesbians wanting to pass laws against getting wolf whistled at, which is pushing young men away from even wanting to talk to women these days, because you mad lesbians, Jana Cherry's a lesbian, you're a alleged lesbian, are bringing in such draconian interaction measures, while at the same time covering up rape gangs of asylum seekers. The press have actually already identified, and people were protesting, that some girl under 16 has 28 lovers who was in charge of in your charge under the SNP's administration in Glasgow. That's what's happening under your watch.
Is ageing, which is a good thing. People are living longer. Yeah,
well, I know, but you've locked everybody in their house, so how are they going to reproduce if you've locked everybody in the house for 18 months? You've not even probably been interacting with each other. So that's 18 months of people. I would hate to see the birth rate. So what you're doing is allowing people to come in and not allowing the people here to actually breed, because you've kept everybody in the house to prevent people from over 80 from dying. And destroyed, not only been actually sat in governance over the transfer of wealth to the wealthiest globalists in the world. You've also destroyed small and local businesses, while at the same time not producing any children, and actually allowing basically de facto open borders to Muslims who believe that raping women, if you get raped, then the women should get punished. You go to jail for having sex outside marriage. But you're allowing that to happen. Just men to come in. Just men. And then once you turn up here, you've said that, oh, they're all welcome. not knowing what they are, who they are, and where they've came from. They've just turned up, destroyed the passports, and because you've actually decided that these people are all welcome, that you've actually just done that.
But we face a situation in future.
So basically what you're doing, what you're saying here is not asking women here to reproduce. What they're doing in universities is saying that women are oppressed, although you're the First Minister. Women are oppressed, and it's white men that are oppressing them. But at the same time, we're going to let in foreign men who obviously haven't oppressed them, who will oppress them far more significantly under their highly misogynistic doctrines, that you basically let them in because that's how much of a nationalist you are.
If we don't attract people to come and live in Scotland, our working age population...
Why don't you just have more kids? Why don't you just have more children? So the only thing that you can do, Nippy, is actually get people from out with. You can't say to women, oh, listen, it might be a good idea to have more kids. Because you've obviously put too much eggs in your basket. You're going to die out childless now. Childless. Obviously, being alleged lesbian, it probably was a good chance of that happening anyway. But you could have surrogated for children. You could have donated your eggs. You could have. There was a million things that you could have done to increase the population. But what you're doing is decreasing the Scottish population, and you've just said that you're replacing them. You're actively replacing them through the use of mass immigration. Not to say to women, you might want to have more children. Here. Not that you produced any children as well, not that I produced children as well, but then again, I've been hampered by the Lib Lab Con Party, the SNP and the Greens, homosexual abundance and power, who only, I think, Ruth Davison's produced any kids. Did you Calamity is do you ken? I'm not sure if he's a National Socialist or a fascist. I'm trying to. I actually think underlying he's actually a liberal, a libertarian liberal. So, but he's certainly gone down. He's gone down the path that I can see many people taking against this communist, anti-white, anti-male Marxism. He's now flipped into a National Socialist. Adolf Hitler. Yeah, I'm not sure if he's certainly going down to whether he's a white nationalist, National Socialist, fascist. I don't want to speak for him, but it certainly is going down that path. But me, Nippy's an anti-white, anti-male, anti-white racist herself. So she's just a reverse racist. That's why she's pushing white men to go down a specific path. Adolf, yourself, nearly 6,000 dying of the jab in Scotland. Is that, Andy? Is it? So not only they could have been killing people with the jab as well. We don't know. I mean, obviously I don't know. Obviously this jab is not going through full medical proceedings. So we don't know how many people may or may not die on the back of actually having the jab. Tracing. I mean, it looks like backdoor the social credit scoring that they're trying to enforce just now. And if you don't stop voting for these characters, Lib Lab Con Party, the Greens, and start voting for libertarian parties, that you're going to increasingly get this authoritarianism. And to be honest, Adolf, it doesn't matter. The Calamity is whatever he is. What this matters, what I'm taking out of is what Nippy's saying. Calamity in the greater scheme of politics is not as important as what the First Minister's saying. And she's basically saying, let's just go through this again.
Our view is anybody is welcome to come to Scotland. Where you come from doesn't matter if you...
So she's also brought in that anybody can come here. So de facto open immigration from the Nationalist Party, open immigration, can't have children, try and make interactions criminal between men and women, wolf whistling at them while allowing Muslims to rape, Muslim asylum seekers to rape children, under 16 children, and then she's covered it up. Not produced any children herself.
We want to make Scotland...
Not surrogated, not helped anybody. She could have surrogated, she could donated her eggs. She could have done a number of things, not done any of that. Going to die out herself, by herself. Catwoman, then dead. No children, no grandchildren. And yet she's in the position as an alleged intersectional Marxist lesbian, man-hating, hates white men, just that intersectional feminist, lesbian feminist types. And that's why they're pushing young people like Calamity into white nationalism, ethno-nationalism. It's been deliberately done by the government, and it's pushing white men into that sort of white nationalist perspective. I would strongly advise them not to do it. Should become a libertarian liberal. Young Calamity has done his political compass test, and he was a libertarian liberal. Yet I think because of Nippy and her selfishness, just a really horrible, badly haircutted, fake nationalist, that's just what she's doing.
And your home, you are welcome, and we want you to make a contribution. My party, in a United Kingdom context, is probably the most pro-immigration.
So we've got to the stage where we're so pro-immigration that we're allowing Islamo-fascists like Hamza Yusuf, who had a wee pride flag earlier on, which I think would be quite embarrassing. I don't know if it's here. Quite embarrassing considering he's meant to be a Muslim, and Islam punishes gay people with death. So I don't know how that doesn't come under the hate speech bill, but obviously wee Nippy wants one rule for one for another, because she's a sellout as well. Don't know if he's got it. Where was the... I don't even know. I'm sure I saw it earlier on. I am absolutely sure he had the pride flag. So you can see, I mean, it's just so we are thrilled to be having to have backing of so many leading Scots from our ethnic minority leaders programme. You can read more about it and how to apply to join. I see, so we've got now clubs for ethnic minorities. So I don't know, I think they're all Muslims as well. So I think we've all got a bunch of Islamo-fascists and the members of the child rapist death cult. So I mean, they're not really caring. So let's go back to what's her face. So I think this woman, well, what's that? The husband is going to take the fall for this one so that she can keep her cosy salary. So Aspana Begum's ex-husband may be behind the housing bids trial hears. I see. So they're basically now rigging the housing market so that they basically get houses ahead of the and to keep in the Labour Party. Aspen Begum's ex-husband may be behind housing bids trial. Frankie Berry, popular and Limehouse MP Aspen Begum had told the court that her ex-husband could have been controlling the bank account used for bids at the centre of housing fraud allegations. All right. Miss Begum has denied 3 incidents of fraud and is appearing in Snaresbrook Court for a trial which is expected to run 6 to 8 days. 31-year-old is accused of disclosed information to Tower Hamlets Council in applications during 3 separate periods between January 2013 and March 2016. All right, I see. Oh, that'll be more of the... Oh, it's great to have you all here. So, let's go for this one. So, there's a wee cuddle from the alleged lesbian there. I don't know how. Obviously, if that was Alex Salmond, me Nippy would be trying to get him charged. Hamza disappears on holiday. Wizard tour during trip. Harry Potter and the Invisible Health Chief. And they all went on holiday. One rule for them, one for everybody else.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The newly appointed Health Secretary has said that the UK Government's policy of returning to normal may lead to as many as 100,000 COVID cases per day. It's entirely possible that with these case rates, uncontrolled by the UK Government could lead to further curbs on UK travellers abroad. How will the Secretary of State's plans announced today accommodate these projected domestic case rates?
Well, I'm grateful for the question. I think it's important to know that we're in a different phase of this coronavirus now, where never before have we had the majority of our population double vaccinated, and everybody is welcome to come forward, and indeed should come forward if they haven't been for the vaccinations yet. The rest of the world isn't quite in that situation as yet. They will want to get themselves to that position, and increasingly, therefore, the focus isn't so much on the specific case rates. After all, we're not vaccinating children yet, and we wait for the Joint Committee on Vaccinations and Immunisation to let us know whether they wish to, whether it's scientifically proven to do so and advisable. But in the meantime, what we really are interested in is, of course, are the hospitalisations and deaths.
When you consider the record of this Tory government, Madam Deputy Speaker, they have failed to uphold every single one of these 7 principles of public life to which we are bound. They have failed to act selflessly, placing the financial prosperity of their friends and colleagues above the needs of our NHS. They have lacked integrity, indebting themselves to private companies and exchanging contracts for donations and favours. They have lacked objectivity, handing out contracts to their friends, while some of the most vulnerable in society suffer under their policies. And now they're delaying this public inquiry, denying the country of the openness, honesty and accountability that the electorate deserve.
So, I don't think I can go any further back now. I see. So basically, I think she's saying gesture politics. So without England, without immigration, there's only 4 players on the pitch. So I don't know how much immigration is. It immigration till there's no indigenous players on the pitch? Is that what it is? Is the displacement? So going back to the UN. So it's only good if there's less white people in there. Let me go back. I saw this absolute clown the other day there as well. Laura. So here we go with Lorna's.
I offer my congratulations and those of the Scottish.
So I don't know who this woman is. We'll get into this when we talk about the communist greens on Sunday. But I don't know who she is. So she's just popped up here from Canada. God knows who she is. I don't know. Where is the Slater? So Slater is an English surname derived from occupation of slater, a tradesman who worked with slate, funnily enough, some notable individuals. So she's English then, right? Well, which makes sense, because if you actually listen to her, she seems to have the Edward Longshanks position. on like Wee Nippy. Wee Nippy and her seems to actually, both Scottish nationalists seem to have the Edward Longshank's position on Scotland, as does Anum Qaisar-Javed. They all seem to have the Edward Longshanks. Which I think we all know, isn't it? Muslims are doing in Scotland as well as England these days. It seems like what in Wee Nippy, with Wee Nippy's blessing, that seems to be Nippy's sort of angle, political angle just now, isn't it? Oh.
The trouble with Scotland is that it's full of Scots.
Well, let's go back to Calamity and what Calamity said.
Our view is anybody is welcome to come to Scotland. Where you come from doesn't matter if you want.
Does it not? Does it not matter? So a bunch of ISIS terrorists can just come here. A bunch of communists can just come here. A bunch of Nazis there. White supremacists, Ku Klux Klan. No, you're not too keen on them, Nippy, are you? So anybody can just turn up here, can they? Can we just all live in your house then? What stops us from just living in your house? Have you checked with the Scottish people that you've okayed this, or have you just said, oh, I'm part of the shills for the globalist agenda and I've decided that this is okay?
To make Scotland your home, you are welcome and we want you to make a contribution. My party in a United Kingdom context is probably the most pro-immigration party of all.
Is it? Is that, I didn't see that in your manifesto, Nippy. That certainly wasn't something I came across. Is that the Edward Longshank's position on it as well? So if you just let anybody come in, so let's say, let's not make it, say there's 20 million Poles just came in from your daft conversation there. 20 million Poles. Now there's nothing wrong with Poles. Poles are a great bunch. But in fact, the Poles are actually very sound just now. But 20 million Poles just walk in. So instead of Russia invading, for example, or Poland invading, or even England invading, all they just had to do was say, oh, we're all refugees. And Nicola Sturgeon said it's okay for us all just to turn up. I think it's open season, isn't it? And while at the same time, we're going to stop you from breeding because we're going to keep you in your house for 18 months over a virus that's 99.9% survivable, where you're not going to be able to breed. But yet at the same time, people, men, predominantly men, and probably predominantly Muslim men, are just going to be able to walk into the UK. Well, you're going to need a passport to get into discos. They can just walk into the UK from the water country of France. And basically we're following.
The trouble with Scotland is that it's full of Scots.
Oh, so Wee Nippy's. So this just shows you where Wee Nippy's at. So let's hear Lorna Doball Slater, for the Canadian English person who we don't know anything about, turned up here 20 years ago and is now in the Scottish Parliament for some reason. I wouldn't have people who weren't born here of Scottish descent, or not Scottish descent, British descent, in the Scottish Parliament. That just means anybody. So let's put it this way: a bunch of communists could turn up, a bunch of Nazis could just turn up. You say, oh, I don't think she was even a refugee. I think she came over, stayed, was doing a tour, and all of a sudden stayed. And now we've got her not answering any questions to the people who work here. I think she and the Doballs and the Greens don't want to answer questions because I've got their number.
Scottish Green Party to Nicola Sturgeon on her re-election as First Minister. It is a remarkable achievement to be returned for a fourth term.
Yeah, she should have resigned. It's embarrassing. She's an embarrassment to Scotland just now because she should have resigned. She's got no ideas. She's just made a totally sexist, which we've gone through, manifesto, where she only talks about women's health. And you're just going to prattle on about women ad infinitum here. And the best thing that you've got to offer is women not getting whistled at.
14 years after
Criminalising men for whistling at women. My body, my rights. If I want to whistle at something, I'll whistle at them.
the SNP entered government, and more than 6 years after Nicola Sturgeon herself first became First Minister.
What a doughball.
To be returned with the second highest tally of seats at any election since devolution demonstrates that whatever difference...
Yeah, it demonstrates that the media like Joe Biden are in the pockets of the political class. Because if there was any objective journalists, they were attacking me. The journalists were attacking me, not attacking the politicians, because we don't have objective journalism here in Scotland anymore. Let's listen to more of the Specky Doughball.
we have,
Specky
the
Corbyn.
First Minister personally retains the confidence of the bulk of the country.
Yeah, well, obviously they're not paying enough attention. And then, to be honest with you, the majority of them are still probably voting for Scotland to become an independent nation, rather than for Nicola Sturgeon, who has destroyed the Scottish economy, who's reducing the Scottish birth rate, who's, I could continue, who's allowing people just to walk in and that's them Scottish, who are going to get preferential rights when they've not contributed anything because they've just literally walked in over the Scots. They're going to get housed ahead of them. As we've seen with that the Muslim woman who's allowing her husband to take the dairy because she's an MP who's been fiddling the system. But as Anum, whatever, has said that that's great. We're getting more ethnic minorities to replace us in our own country that we nippies all on board with.
I look across the...
And I bet it's not happening in theirs. Show me the equivalents over there. So not only we being replaced, but they're not doing it in their country. Yet they're wanting to replicate their country in this country, and with wee Nippy's blessing.
Debating chamber presiding officer, and what I see is hope.
What I see is a 6-foot specky dough ball, and that the green might as well be red for your communist undertones. But I'm sure you're just about to play identity politics. So two people can play identity politics. Talk about how to wind up. Look at that. She looks like that thing out the thing out the mask. So don't forget. I think she's English. She could be English. So and not the fact that English people. You could have people who have got bad intents.
I see Scotland's most diverse parliament.
Great. So it's not. We're not judging people on the quality of their abilities. That's probably why you didn't want to answer any questions, Laura, from me, because we're not asking. We're just saying, oh, this person looks brown. We've got to have a brown person. This is a dough ball with specs on, with blonde hair. But when she comes across somebody that could out debate her, she doesn't want to take the questions, even though you're getting paid by the public purse, Laura. So that big 6-foot dough ball won't be interfering next time I ask you questions. You can take that to the bank.
Coming together in this room at this most critical of times. I see more young people, more women, more disabled people, more people with diverse backgrounds and experiences. I am particularly moved that in...
Yeah, you'll be seeing, maybe, but I look round there and see a bunch of lefties. And this is a parliament. This is for policy and policy and where you stand on the political spectrum. We've got wee Nippy, an alleged communist. We've got an Islamo-fascist behind him. We've got a lot of nondescripts. We've got you as a trans communist watermelon. I can see a bunch of lefties. That's it. It's politics about ideology. It's not what you've got between your legs or anything else. It's about ideology and policy.
In this term of Parliament, we have crossed what I consider to be a key threshold for culture change within an institution.
Oh, culture change. Oh, I see. So what culture are we changing it to? I don't know if I've agreed with this. I think we have got political culture change where we've got a whole bunch of fucking communists, excuse my French, in the in the Parliament. That's what we've got. That's what you are, and we will be.
In that more than 40% of our MSPs are now women.
Great. So let's have a debate then. I'll go toe to toe with any of the women in the Parliament, and let's have a debate. Bet you they don't. Bet you like you ran away when I actually challenged you. I don't want to talk to you. Oh, I'm a woman. I don't need to answer any questions. That's how tough you were. You're getting interviewed. Don't worry. As I said, next time I won't be so gentle.
45% actually. I congratulate all those parties who have worked hard to
I would destroy you in a debate.
Improve their gender balance in order to bring in this fresh talent and these new perspectives.
Yeah, I'm sure nobody knows what your perspective is. We know that the Green Party are full of communists. We know that, anti-white racist communists. That's what the Green Party are, although the kid on their environmentalists. Well, probably are a bit environmentalists, but the underlying political issues are the loony left. So you, the specky blonde one, are part of the extreme loony left, whether you're plausible or not. And I don't think you should be there. Why should you be there? And you've not been born here. You're not Scottish. You don't have a long-term history of Scotland. You've only been here about 10 years. There are people who have been here generations who understand Scotland a lot better than you, Laura.
This is important.
No, it's not. It's only important for you because that's how you represent yourself. It's identity politics for you. And if it gets to identity politics, why should I not be there? Just based on my identity. I come from a long line of Scots. Way back before Robert the Bruce, you've appeared in the last 10 years and you think it's important. Important for you, maybe. And if it is identity politics, then why should the longest person or the people who've been here longest not be the ones who are most likely to understand Scotland the best? Rather than a Canadian who's been here 10 minutes.
Because when we change who is making decisions...
Yeah, I wouldn't want you to make a decision. I wouldn't let you take my dog for a walk. You are an absolute, and your party are the village idiots. If I got all the village idiots in Scotland, they would all be Greens. And I'll come to that later on.
We change outcomes. Will we, as a more diverse group, have
I'll be there holding you to account. That's what I'll be doing.
A more positive working culture? Will there be more cross-party working on matters such as...
Well, I'm not surprised. They're all lefties in there. You've got the Greens, the Labour Party under Sawa, there's been allegations that Sawa's grandfather was importing, these allegations have been coming, that he was importing heroin, and that's where they get the money for the cash and carry. Now, I don't know if that's true. It's not. These allegations are coming from inside the Scottish Indian diaspora. And his brother sold cocaine, and that's where, so that, if that's not true, there should be investigations into where Sawa Senior got the money for the cash and carry. And if it is for the importation of heroin, Sawa Senior should resign. Sorry, Sawa Junior should resign. And if he's destroyed people's lives through the importation of cocaine, he should be going to jail.
National Care Service, housing.
Whether that's the third generation. Sawa Junior is already on the record saying they came with no money. So where did they get the money for the cash and carry? Where did that come from?
Education and tackling the climate and nature emergencies.
So how's that going to create jobs, Laura? You might create a few jobs from increasing green energy. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't not do it. Although that's a double negative. I wouldn't not do it. But the way it's high growth, high tech jobs you want, Laura, obviously you don't understand that because you're coming from an ideological perspective.
Will we be able to think long term?
Oh, great. Even if we go to zero emissions in Scotland, even if we do it in Britain, it's not going to have the effect. Only if China, America and India, who are the major CO2 polluters, decrease their CO2 emissions is going to make any difference. So again, but I'll ask you that directly to your face.
To think about the well-being of our people.
Your people? I thought you were from Canada. Are you, whose people? I thought you were English as well.
And stewardship of our land and resources, rather than
our land, is it? See, that's what happens. They just come here and it's our land, is it? Aye.
Allowing exploitation and extraction.
Exploitation and extraction? Well, you'd have to define that. You have to tell us exactly what is being exploited, when and where. You have to give the specifics. These generalisations to make political points is absolutely useless. In extraction, we will require things for it to be extracted. Even for like North Sea oil, the extraction will still make plastics and other things. The plastics can be reheated and then reused as fuel. So what you really need to have is a proper a facility for what do you call it? Renewable usage of these things. That's what you need, rather than landfill sites. It's pointless digging things out of the ground to then replant them again in landfill sites. It should be everything should be going through for reusage.
I have hope, presiding officer, because these are challenging.
I've got hope because 45% are women. I've got hope because what? I mean, we've got different people in the things, less white men. That's what it is.
Times. The climate emergency requires this government and this parliament to take bold, transformative action. The pandemic requires a commitment to investment. Government and this parliament to take bold, transformative action. So
don't forget the Green Party are wanting to destroy the Scottish North Sea oil. So they want to stop all drilling. So there are other things other than fuel that the oil is used for. And there's ways to actually recycle oil as well. So again, not talked about here either.
The pandemic requires a commitment to investment and rebuilding.
Yeah, as I said, I've got multiple businesses. I've not received a penny for the government as well. What the government, the Scottish government, like the British government, has done is actually destroyed the middle and working class and transferred millions of pounds to the largest corporations for their globalist agenda.
The majority of pro-independence MSPs returned to this parliament means that we need to have a national conversation about the Constitution. And
yeah, but you're still, even if you get another referendum, there's no guarantee that you're going to win it. And if you don't win it again, that's going to cause major problems for the nationalist situation, because people are then going to start looking at your stupid policies.
And what kind of country we want to be. Do we want to be welcoming to refugees?
Well, a lot of the people aren't refugees, so illegal immigrants should be deported. So that's, and this isn't just you and me, Nippy's country. You have to ask the populace. This dictatorial top-down approach isn't working for me.
Do we want to be a world leader in renewable energy and have...
Yeah, I thought we were already 50% of the way there. We've already got that. So, okay, that again is a limited... that's not where growth is going to come from. The growth is going to come from high-tech, high-growth jobs, not from really renewables. Renewables only produce electricity. Even if we sold the renewable products to other countries, we're still only going to be making so much money. The real economic growth is through digital and high-tech growth. And you've never talked about that. I don't think you really understand economics, or you're a communist and don't want to understand economics.
Town and city centres that are designed for people rather than cars.
Okay, but you're still going to have to drive there. So you're still going to have to drive to get in to the town. I usually take public transport, but you're still going to have to get there some way, aren't you? So, okay, I don't mind the pedestrianising of the cities, but again, you're going to have to get access to lorries so that they can deliver whatever the goods are as well. So you're not going to get that. You can get it up to a point, but you're not going to get it to the greater extent. And the more difficult you make it as well, the less desirable getting into a town is as well.
Do we want blood sports on our hills?
None of your business what they do. Blood sports, we eat meat. I mean, honestly, this forced vegetarianism, piss off.
Or sustainable agriculture.
What's sustainable agriculture? We've already got sustainable agriculture. You're fucking...
Forestry.
Okay, plant more trees. Definitely plant more trees. You can do that individually. You can individually take responsibility and plant more trees.
I have hope, presiding officer, because the people of Scotland did vote like their future depended on it in this election, voting in record numbers for the Scottish Greens and returning the largest ever number.
I don't know why. The Village Idiot Party. Definitely the Village Idiot. The trannies, I don't know, people were saying that she was transgender as well.
Of Green MSPs. The people have asked for practical, life-changing policies, new jobs in renewable energy, warm homes, upgraded railways, stronger links to Europe. We can take many of these steps now without waiting for independence. But completing the necessary transformation must also involve asking the people of Scotland to choose their own future and building the case for independence, which is based on transformation, on building the Scotland we want to see.
Who wants to see? You want to see? After your 10 years of being here or whatever? The situation that you want to see?
A fair and green Scotland that is in...
Well, a fair and green Scotland, even if it was green, even if we went to, I told you, zero emissions. We spent millions of pounds getting to zero emissions to get electricity and transportation. It's still not going to make any difference because the majority of polluters are China, USA and India and others in that order. Unless they do something about it, we're not going to get a great resolution to the problem. Even if we spend billions doing it, if we become the greenest of green and fairer, fairer for who? Who's it fairer for? It seems like it's been ethnically. You're saying just allow anybody in, and we've got to make it fairer for all of them. But it's not going to be. It's going to get increasingly less fair for the people here, which is what Humza Useless did by putting a guy in house arrest for 6 months recently for his mean tweets.
In charge of its own destiny. We can invest in jobs.
I would hate you in charge of anything. I would hate you in charge of my dog.
And the economic recovery, reduction of carbon emissions, and improve the quality of life for...
So none of that's about how to grow the economy. Do you notice that? Because we've got a dough ball here that doesn't know, she's just on an agenda, she doesn't know how to grow the economy. She's not mentioned anything about growing the economy. But she's a woman. But she doesn't know. She obviously doesn't know how to grow the economy. She's not mentioned anything about growth or economic growth or anything like that. So that means we're all going to get poorer, greener but poorer.
For everyone in Scotland, we just have to choose to do so. We, us.
Yeah, I don't want to choose that. I want to choose to get high-tech, high-growth jobs, which is going to generate income and increase the opportunity to spend more through the public sector. But that's where the focus should be. But you guys are not clever enough. But we've got tons of diversity in there, but not one of you are clever enough to actually say that.
The people in this room. Presiding officer, I am hoping that the First Minister and everyone in this room will consider the nature of the multiple crises that we face and will commit to...
We don't have crises. We don't have crises. The COVID-19 is not a crisis either now. But what this is allowing is these authoritarian women, which we need because of diversity, to lock us in the house, stop reproduction and have open door immigration policies, which this dough ball like me, Nippy, are both agreed on. I don't know if Laura's produced any kids, maybe she has. I don't know if she's transgender or what she is. But but I don't really care either. But yeah, I mean, really. But I mean, the only thing we can do, we can't have more, women should not be having more children. The only thing we can do to increase our growth rate through the population is by importing another population. That's it. Can't do anything else. Maybe we should just have more children. How about that? How about that? If you're having less than 3 children, we're in a negative growth rate, ladies, so you can work out for yourself. If you're not having enough sex, maybe you should be looking at it from that point of view. Maybe the guys could be going out and working again, and maybe women could have more children rather than vice versa.
Working in the spirit of cooperation and constructively across party lines to make the kind of transformative changes that are needed to protect our environment and ensure an economy that works for everyone.
Absolute doughballs. It's like an absolute village idiots party. What are you guys saying? Good evening, how you doing, mate? Good to see you. Good evening, David. It's not hot in that suit. I'm absolutely sweating like a fat guy in the sauna. I was out today, yes, and I was walking as well. England, the most noblest nation in all of Christendom. I said, all right, okay, buddy. Right, thank. I concur. Lorraine Slater and wee Nippy are both daughters of Satan. Yes, indeed. That horror show of a parliament needs bulldozed and closed permanently. I disagree with that, John. I actually think it needs more powers, but I think the people in it are the problem. Not well. I think the actual look of the parliament's disgusting as well. So I agree with you there. But definitely, I think we need just better politicians in it, mate, to be brutally honest with you. To fair being unfair to Longshanks, Davy, he isn't in the Satanic League. Is there Satanic League, guy? You should apologise to Longshanks, Davy. That's terrible comparing those creatures to him. The horror show of the Parliament needs bulldozed and closed permanently. Well, I don't agree. I actually believe we need more. I think the problem is the political class. I do agree with you guys. There is a problem, but I believe it's the politicians that are the problem, not the building or having devolution. I think it's the quality of the politicians and also where they are in the political spectrum and what their objectives are. I believe that's the problem, guys. Her face is far too long. It looks like the thing in the what's the mask. What was the guy? It looks a bit like this. This guy, this poor guy. That was really upsetting. This guy played it brilliantly. It's a wee bit like that, isn't it? That's a wee bit what it looks like. Old Lonely's face. That's what I keep remembering. That was a great film as well. He played that brilliantly. Feel sorry for the fella as well. Seemed like a really nice guy. And the character portrayed as well. But yeah. So, what we got? So, UN definition. Let's go back. What else we see? Is she gets 60 Wayne at Pit of cheeky wee pound on it. I got for it. Go for it. Her teeth have their own shadow, to be fair. We need a national conversation about yous getting away from us. The sort of country we want to be is without you people running anything bigger than a shop. Is that not the case? Isn't it? Guys, you're going to have to become almost politically religious and get out there and start campaigning, champing doors. We need to get the population motivated away from these clowns. I love motors and been trying my hardest to drive more often on unnecessary journeys. I want the carbon footprint right up. I know it's been nice weather, hasn't it? We've all been enjoying the sun. I want to run a nuclear reactor on fuels to get to the shop. You guys are too funny. Right, let's go. Let's see what these say. The UN. So this is the UN Declaration against on genocide. So we nippy in our I want more people here nonsense, just the globalist agenda is bringing in UN treaties wholesale into Scottish law, but she's not bringing in this. So let's have a wee look at what it says here. Ethnic cleansing. Ethnic cleansing has not been recognised as an independent crime under international law. The term surfaced in the context of the 1990s conflict in Yugoslavia and is considered to come from literal translation of Serbian Croatian expression ethno, whatever. However, the presage of roots of the terms of who started using it while are still uncertain. The expression ethnic cleansing has been in the resolutions and of the Security Council and the General Assembly have been acknowledged in a judgment indictments of the ICTY, although it is not constitute one of the counts for persecution. A definition was never provided. Definition, and as ethnic cleansing has not been recognised as an independent crime under international law. Is it not? Well, let's see if genocide has. Convention on Prevention. So let's see this. So let's just increase this. So the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of Crime. Let me get you guys up here because you guys have been quite funny. I can't do that. I wish you could superimpose that. That's very annoying. I wonder if there's any way of doing that. Participants, toggle, send feedback, manage. I don't know how to do that. Create a poll, create emojis. Don't know how to do that. So, Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of Crimes of Genocide, approved and proposed for signatures and ratification or accession by the General Assembly, Resolution 2060A triple 1 of 9th of December 1948, entry into force 12th of January 1951, in accordance with the Article 1013. The contracting parties have considered declaration, blah, blah, blah. So Article 1, contracting parties confirm that genocide, whether committed in time or in peace, whether committed in time of peace or in time of war, is a crime under international law, which they undertake to prevent and punish. Article 2, and this is where Nippy and Laura Slater, and obviously this study here, which is celebrating the lack of Indigenous English people in the England football team. So, I mean, only 4 to go, and then there's no Indigenous English in the England football team. So the celebration is de facto the ethnic cleansing of the England football team. And so she obviously is praising this. So she's saying it's only gesture politics. There's still 4 people in the 4 British English people in there. So I don't know if she's not happy until they're all gone. Impacting availability of giant strawberries.
Anum.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As part of its public service broadcaster responsibilities, Channel 4 does not have an in-house production function, relying on independent external production houses. Former Channel 4 commissioning editor Peter Grimsdale said that over 1,000 such production companies had been supported over the years. How does the government mean to support these production houses if it sells off Channel 4? Or do the thousands of jobs in the sector that would be destroyed not matter to this Tory government?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, the Honourable Lady...
So So obviously a Muslim as well, so I'm not sure if she agrees with the killing of non-believers, homosexuals, the enslavement of non-Muslims, as we've already pointed out, and other people do agree with that. So I think these are all questions that we have to start asking the Muslims that are brought here. It's a bit like me saying I'm a Nazi, which I'm not, but if I was a Nazi, and then saying, oh no, you can't ask me any questions of being a Nazi. But you follow these set of beliefs, so it says in the Quran to kill non-believers. So you follow this set of beliefs. So why isn't we nippy allowing people who have came here to lord it over the Scots? Because I'm sure the vast majority of people in Airdrie and Shotts are not Islamic. But I think this is the deliberate Islamisation of Scotland by wee nippy. And you've got to remember as well, the story of the actual story of Braveheart was the actual story of Braveheart was that's not was actually Robert the Bruce.
Welcome and greetings to all. I am Shenlong Pen Dragon today, and that is the battle for Tibba Castle. The reason why I want to do this is because a couple of weeks ago I was away in Spain where this castle is located, and when I got back I thought it would be a good idea to actually do a video about this particular battle. In the Malaga province in Andalusia of southern Spain, as you can see it on this.
So I'm going to be succinct here. So after the Battle of Bannockburn, the Black Douglas took Robert the Bruce heart to go and fight against the Muslims in obviously southern Spain. He went on crusade to fight against Islam because he said Robert the Bruce had said it was a child rapist death cult. But we Nippy, as the globalist shill, not nationalist but globalist shill, has basically said, oh well, screw Robert the Bruce, I'm not a nationalist, as we said, I'm a globalist shill, postmodernist Marxist, and I take my orders from the globalist order. I'm not interested in your Scottish history. I'm interested in replacing you with other people and just having an open door immigration, which is already said. And now we've got Muslims who Robert the Bruce, who was an actual nationalist, fought against.
Modern map here.
And they were actually, the Muslims were telling the people in the north to give them 100 virgins as tribute, instead of getting gold or silver or whatever possessions. They were telling them to get 100 virgins away back in the time of the Reconquistador, so that they could obviously rape them. And that was how they were, that was what was happening in Spain. And that's one of the reasons the Black Douglas and Robert the Bruce's Braveheart went down to fight the Battle of Tibba. Don't know if there's a better one than that.
The Battle of Tibba took place in August 1330, in the valley below the fortress of Tibba, now a town in the province of Malaga in Andalusia, southern Spain. The encounter occurred during the frontier campaign waged between 1327 to 1333 by Alfonso XI of Castile, against Muhammad IV, Sultan of Granada. In 1325, King Alfonso declared war on the Moorish Emirate of Granada and invited other Christian kings to join him in a new crusade. This project came to nothing, but Alfonso nevertheless proceeded with a campaign against the western frontier of Granada. In 1327, he captured the castles of Olvera, Pruna, and Torre al-Haquame. In 1330, a second expedition was mounted to attack the castle of Tiba, 25 miles east of Olvera fortification in the defences of Malaga. Alfonso established his headquarters at Córdoba and sent word to his nobles and knights to concentrate there. A contingent of 500 knights was also sent by the King of Portugal. By the end of July, Alfonso was preparing to march down the Roman road to Écija, where an advance base was to be set up. Scottish Knights Errant. In 1329, as Robert the Bruce, King of Scots, lay dying, he made one last request of his friend and lieutenant.
He said, Islam's a child rapist death cult, you have to go and fight against him.
Sir James Douglas. The
Black
king
Douglas
charged that, after his death, Sir James should take his embalmed heart and bear it with him on crusade, thus fulfilling the pledge that Bruce had been unable to honor in his life. The projected campaign in Spain offered Sir James the ideal opportunity. In the spring of 1330, armed with a safe conduct from Edward III of England and a letter of recommendation to King Alfonso XI of Castile, Douglas set off from Berwick and sailed first to Sluis in Flanders. Here, according to the contemporary Walloon chronicler Jean Le Bel, Douglas' company consisted of 1 knight banneret, 6 ordinary knights and 20 esquires. It is not clear whether the knight banneret was Sir James himself. Other knights named by the Scottish poet John Barber included Sir William de Keith, Sir William de St. Clare of Rosslyn, and the brothers Sir Robert Logan of Restalrig and Sir Walter Logan. Others alleged at one time or another to have accompanied Douglas are John de St. Clare, younger brother of Sir William, Sir Simon Lockhart of Lee, Sir Kenneth Moyer, William Borthwick, Sir Alan Cathcart and Sir Robert de Glen, but evidence is lacking. There appears to be no historical basis for claims that any of these men were connected with the Order of the Knights Templar, dissolved by Pope Clement V in 1312.
So, again, very interesting, isn't it? There's, get rid of her, I'll speak about her on the next night. So, go back to the convention here. In the Article 2, so we Nippy is not one to bring in this, because you probably bought on behalf of it. In the present convention, genocide means any of the following acts committed with intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnic, racial or religious group. As such, killing members of the group, causing serious bodily harm, which could be the vaccines as well. What are you saying, Davey? You may as well running Pornhub. They are going to turn us into Portland. Yeah, that's right. That's exactly what they're trying to do. The Reef Point Coaster was amazing part of the Western culture. I can't spell it. Sorry, I understand what it was. Black Douglas was a lad, certainly was. Battle of Vienna, yes, with the Polish Hussars saved. Yes, they did against the Turks. That sounds like the Terminator. Davey, you should become the Scottish JLP. What's JLP? Now you've got me, John. Tell me what JLP stands for. Cause serious bodily harm, mental harm to members of the group. Deliberately inflict on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part, which I would say mass immigration would do. Which Nippy might be, and also Laura Slater, both of them might be up on charges. Imposing measures intended to prevent births, so locking in you in your house for 18 months to prevent births, to stop people over 80 over the natural birth rate, the natural death rate dying. Forcibly transferring children to another group. Following facts shall be punishable: genocide, conspiracy to commit genocide, direct and public incitement to commit genocide, attempting to commit genocide, complicity in genocide. I would also suggest mass rapes by the Muslims we've seen in Scotland and in England as part of that genocidal plan, also written about in the Quran and the Hadith. Persons committing genocide or any of the other acts enumerated in Article 3, enumerated in Article 3 shall be punished. Right, that's great. So we Nippy and Laura Slater could be up for a punishment. Great. Whether they are constitutionally responsible rulers, political officers or private individuals, Article 5, the contracting parties undertake to enact in accordance with the respective constitution and the necessary legislation to give effect to the provision of present convention, and in particular to provide effective penalties for persons found guilty of genocide or any of the other acts enumerated in Article 3. Persons charged with genocide or any other acts whatever, in Article 3 shall be tried by any competent tribunal of the state in the territory of which the act was committed, and by such international penal tribunal as many have justification with respect to those contracting parties which shall have accepted its jurisdiction. Article 5, genocide and other acts enumerated in Article 3 shall not be considered as political crimes for the purposes of extradition. The contracting parties pledge themselves in such cases to grant extradition in accordance with their laws, treaties in force. Article 8, any contracting party may, upon the contempt organs of the United Nations, to take such actions under the Charter of the United Nations as they're considered appropriate for the prevention and suppression of the act of genocide or any other acts enumerated in Article 3. So I would suggest that the decantation and the mass importation to subjugate the indigenous population could fall under the genocide clauses here under the UN's Act on Genocide, which Nicola Sturgeon would be actually accountable to. So Nicola Sturgeon could be up in charges. Listen to this.
But there's also a practical reason for Scotland. Scotland is a country, and we're not unique in this sense, but the demographics of Scotland are quite challenging. So
Nicola Sturgeon cannot grow the Scottish birth rate. So if you're telling women that they're oppressed by men, even though a woman's in charge, and that's getting pumped through our university system, this is getting pumped through. I didn't even know where this was coming from, and obviously books that we're actually now getting this as the fact of demographic replacement, and so she's suppressing the indigenous birth rate and also increasing the mass immigration, predominantly of men who are not asylum seekers, just able to walk into the country, which I would suggest that she may well be up on charges. She's not produced any kids herself, so she might be up in charges under the UN Convention on Genocide. Our birth rate is not growing at... which you've not contributed to. A fast enough rate. Which you've actually hampered men in positions so that they can't actually facilitate having children. So you've actually done this deliberately. We've got lesbians all over the place, like Kezia Dugdale not had any kids. Ruth Davison only had one kid. And they're all making these misandrous, increasingly criminalising interactions between men and women to only be in the favour of women. So men don't even want to then talk to them, so it then hampers women's, because they just complain, they'll complain about anything. They can complain about anything, lie and get away with it and destroy a man's life. Now, because there's no fairness there, because obviously Nicola's an intersectional lesbian feminist, and she thinks fairness is one rule for her, one for everybody else. Our population is ageing. Which you are ageing, and the only hope we've got is that you'll get out of power soon. and hopefully up in charges.
Which is a good thing. People are living longer.
It's not going to be a good thing for you. You're just going to live and then you're going to die out and you haven't even reproduced.
But we face a situation in future that if we don't attract people to come and live in Scotland...
Right, so the only thing you can do is population replacement. It's not the fact that women ask women to have more children or have at least 3 children. That's beyond the pale. So you're whether you know it or not, you're de facto following against the UN's genocide prevention program, where you're saying, well, women aren't having enough children here, so I'm going to replace it through the use of mass immigration, and you're actually doing immigration, and you're deliberately doing it as a political policy. So you should be up on trial for deliberate replacement and potentially genocide of the population. You've already said you're reducing the indigenous population, and the only thing that you can do is replace it by a foreign population. So you're de facto committing genocide on your own people because of your incompetence and your inability to create good policies. What's my baby gorilla saying on that one? Look up get a job channel on YouTube. It's amazing. Look up Get a Job channel, isn't it right? Type in Get a Job. Type in Get a Job.
Welcome to the bullpen.
Get a job. Is it Jesse Pearson?
Amazing.
I don't know how much you follow YouTube, but man, you're blowing up, man. People are putting out like savage videos of you, of just making these people go crazy, and they're my favorite. I don't know if you watch them.
I have seen some of those savage videos, and they're amazing.
Yeah, good.
They crack me up, man. They're pretty funny.
Good, yeah. I was hoping you were at least watching them, because man, they are so great.
Yeah, there's something else.
There's millions and millions of views that are happening on those. They're going to be attracted to what you've got to say.
Yeah. Amazing. Get a Job says smoking weed excessively makes you trapped in your head. Amen. 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 And a woman too. Get a Job is also the young man that does those savage moment videos of me. And Get a Job. They are so amazing.
So, yeah. I love Jesse's brilliant. Get a job. Get a job, man. Get a job. Getting a job for losers.
Hi, this is Robert Kiyosaki. I want to talk to you about an opportunity to learn to be an entrepreneur. So that was the first 2 lessons. So we have Alexandra here. She's an entrepreneur, and poor dad was a school teacher. To be a slave for money.
Exactly.
And work for idiots like me.
Exactly.
But anyway, my way of teaching is to first put doubt in your brain to challenge your belief systems. And then maybe you can choose new beliefs or keep up with old beliefs. Right?
I don't know if that's any relevance to what we're talking about anyway, but anyway, so back to, let's get rid of these as well. What have we got? Get a job. I love Jess Peters as well. So I would have a wee look at if Nicola Sturgeon could be potentially up on genocide charges. So
our working age population may decline, regardless of where they come from.
This is what I was going to say. This is it here. So she's sitting with Muslims, and so regardless, so if these are ISIS fighters that are going to rape you as a child, it doesn't matter. Nicola Sturgeon's already said.
If you choose to live in Scotland, then as far as I'm concerned, you're Scottish.
Doesn't make sense. Scots are an ethnic group, like the English is an ethnic group. Unless you're actually marrying, married into it and they actually created something that's an ethnic group. It's like me saying I'm a Swahili. Or, I mean, it's not something that you can transfer into. I don't necessarily think Sturgeon is actually. I think Sturgeon might be. Sturgeon, definitely. Sturgeon, origins, let's see, origins. Sturgeon, aye, English. So she has got the Edward Longshanks origins. Origins of Suffolk. So wee Nippy's English, so no wonder she's taking the Edward Longshanks approach to Scotland, isn't it? She's actually English. The surname Sturgeon was first found in Suffolk, where they were lords of the manor at Wepstead from very early times, where they were conjecturally descendants from Ralph Wepstead, who held the lordship after the Norman conquest in 1066. So wee Nippy's basically English, and she's taking like Slater, and they're both taking the Edward Longshanks approach to Scotland. Let's hear her talk about this with the Islamofascists.
Whether you were born here and 3 generations of your family were born here, or whether you've only lived here for a few months, whether you were born, they come from.
So wee Nippy's basically saying, if you just turn up here, you're Scottish. So let's listen again.
Regardless of where they come from, if you choose to live in Scotland, then...
Somebody's put a cuck in this guy's head. We've got the Islamofascist here.
And as far as I'm concerned, you're Scottish. Whether you were born here and 3 generations of your family were born here, or whether you've only lived here for a few months.
Instead of incentivising natives to have children. So she's de facto breaking the UN Convention on Genocide.
Come from. If you choose to live in Scotland, then as far as I'm concerned, you're Scottish.
So anybody that just lives in Scotland, Scottish. So the whole world, through open borders, the whole world could live in Scotland, and that's them all just Scottish. That's Nicola Sturgeon, the Scottish nationalist, is saying.
Whether you were born here in 3 generations of your family.
Well, obviously Laura Slater, the English communist, wasn't born here.
Family were born here, or whether you've only lived here for a few months.
So if somebody lives here a few months, that's them Scottish. That's absolutely ridiculous. And I noticed that Nicola Sturgeon didn't take in any refugees into her house. Obviously full of more shit that she is. Instead of incentivising natives to have children. In fact, what she's doing is actually decreasing the Scottish birth rate. The SNP just replace you with cheaper foreign labour. The globalist traitors of the SNP, and that's about right, isn't it? The gay mafia and the Islamofascists. Oh my God. That's get a job is for losers. It's rubbish. That's wrong. Jesse Lee Peterson. I love Jesse Lee Peterson. Yeah, he's great. Jesse Lee's fantastic. So let's go back to Doball and the Islamo Doball. I mean, obviously, inbreeding is a bit of a problem in the Muslim community in Bradford as well. But obviously, that's sanctioned by Muhammad. Plenty to say about this tweet. Gift academic, so I'll slack. Young girls of cult. So this one is always talking about young girls of colour, and I mean, Scotland's 96% white, which obviously has been a very cool climate. That may change with global warming, but and obviously Adrian Schotts is hugely white Scottish, massively, 90% 96% or something like that. 90 is hugely high, but she's got to talk about less than 2% of the population. There are plenty to say about this tweet. Asked a gift academic, so I'll stick to this. Young girls of colour will have watched and thought. Professor and chair at Global Public Health, Edinburgh University, director of Global. So Wee Nippy's also, this is Nicola Sturgeon's woman from the Davy Shira. So I don't know if she's good or not, to be honest with you. So I don't comment or make derogatory comments on people just based on whether they're women, whether they're an ethnic minority either. I'll only make derogatory comments if they're shit. So young girls of colour will have watched Nicola Sturgeon, the alleged lesbian, promote other women while reducing the Scottish, other women of colour. Apparently this is obviously important for Nicola Sturgeon, and reducing the native population rate, potentially breaking the UN Convention on Genocide. That someone who looks like me, there's plenty in Pakistan, pal, that look like you. Millions of people. In Pakistan, the Muslims actually persecute the Christians, Hindus and Sikhs in Pakistan. There was a girl forced converted, raped, abducted by a Muslim man, 14-year-old Christian girl, abducted by a Muslim man, raped, forced to marry him, and then the courts in Pakistan allowed the rapist abductor to actually keep the 14-year-old child in Pakistan. We've already seen honour killings. We've already seen over 50 mass murder attempts from terrorists. The one I couldn't find, it just happened recently. There was a near terrorist attack as well. Mass rapes, inbreeding. I don't know how you want to go on, but obviously we've now got a person who thinks that this agenda, obviously, Nicola, so young girls of colour. So the vast majority of the world are people of colour, because obviously it's hotter in other climates. Young girls got to have watched it and thought that someone who looks like me, so she's basically a racist. She's basically saying, I've got to have people that look like me in power. So I could just say that as well then. Or anybody who, like Calamity, who's maybe going to an ethno-nationalist or even national socialist or whatever it is. I don't want to put words in young Calamity's mouth where he is in the political spectrum or what his underlying beliefs are. But she's just the flip side of this. She's just a racist for a particular one, young brown girls, to be able to look at other young brown girls and say, oh, that's great, these brown people have made it. While at the same time, back in Pakistan, no white people of the equivalence, nobody's allowed in there where they're white. There's nobody in the Pakistan parliament that's white. So it's only us that's got to do this. It's only us that's got to ethnically cleanse our own country and have racists like this who require other people that look like you to be in, not based on their ability, but based on their skin colour or gender or whatever identity is. So why wouldn't we want the actual people who were born here and the people who are from here actually getting the jobs then if we're just doing an identity politics? Why would I want somebody who is not from here and holds disgusting beliefs like Islam in positions of power, who have a child rapist, mass murdering despot for a profit? Why would I find that that's advantageous for me in Scotland? Why would I want Laura Slater, a communist Canadian, like that doughball, what's his face? The doughball Turdo in the Scottish Parliament? Why is that advantageous for me as a Scot? Why did she want more non-Scots to be in the Scottish Parliament? Why is that advantageous? that does not advantage me. Being pushed out, being told that in Lanarkshire that I have to prove that I'm from Lanarkshire, although I've always been brought up there. That I've got to prove that I'm from there to get housed after starving on the streets in Dubai. So why is that happening now under wee Nippy's watch? The childless person is going to die out soon, and then she's not going to have reproduced. She's added to the reduction in the Scottish population, Scottish native population. That someone who looks like me is helping us navigate through a pandemic. If she can do that, so can I. That's important. So it's important that people that look like her are helping navigate through a pandemic that's 99.9% survivable, and locking the indigenous population in their homes while allowing people from the war-torn country of France to just stroll in on boats with the proviso of the Conservative Party and getting ferried across by the French Navy, and then not getting deported. Where wee Nippy says MD's welcome, where we actually get ethnically replaced. That's why people are going like Calamity, who I think is actually a liberal, going to some sort of ethno-nationalism. That's what's happening. That's where the drift is coming from. Wee Nippy, the mad lesbo, the mad childless lesbo who hates men, white men in particular. Oh, some guy looked at my breast. Oh, don't wolf whistle at me, I'll put you in jail for 7 years. Don't make mean tweets to Humza Useless, the Islamo-fascist and member of the child rapist death cult. All right, I see. This is not going to end well. Trust me, this is not going to end well. What are we saying? JC Lee Pearson, yeah, mate. JC Lee Pearson's excellent. 10 out of 10. He runs Bond Brothers, New Destiny. I think he does a great job. He makes a lot of sense for people in the black community in America as well. He gives them a bit of tough love, and sometimes you need a bit of tough love to stop doing that. Type in Get a Job, look up Get a Job channel. I did, mate, I did. It's amazing. Get a Job channel. Get a Job channel. I'll do it one more time. Get a Job channel. So it's him. I don't mind advertising. Jesse is absolutely brilliant.
Amazing.
He does do tough love. So I'll advertise Jesse there. I've not seen this channel. I've obviously watched his other channel, but I've not seen this channel. But yeah, he's great. Absolutely 10 out of 10. Can't wait to meet him. I don't know if there's any other Get a Job, but yeah, Jesse Lee, watch his main channel as well. So, what have we got here? Dementia. I think Young Calamity nicked that one for me. So, Nicola Sturgeon book. So here we go. There's the dough ball there.
Respect freedom of speech. There's a part of me that
I need to get that back. Wee Nippy respects freedom of speech. Shut up.
In your own mark in the world. So yeah, words do matter. But I think we can't.
Yeah, we know for communists words do matter. Might hurt your feelings. Oh no. Oh, somebody hurt my feelings. While at the same time they're putting hundreds of millions of people in the gulags, not taking any responsibility.
Change the connotations that the word has in other parts of the world. What we have, that is perhaps less likely. I was chatting to Elif earlier on and saying if I could turn the clock back 90 years to the establishment of my party.
Oh, here we go. This is what I was doing. This is it. Oh, find it. Oh, so Wee Nippy, but you notice she doesn't say what she would change it to. Let's see what Wee Nippy's saying here. Turkish women oppressed in an Islamic country. Beautiful Byzantine before.
Benevolent thing. So there's a part of me that's doubts that very much. And I want to ask, because we care about words, all of us.
Yeah, overly emotional.
The word is difficult. I mean, we were chatting earlier on, and I was. Can I preface my answer here by recognising there'll be people in this audience who support Scottish independence, people who passionately oppose Scottish independence. Who knows? There might even be some people who don't have an opinion, although that is perhaps less likely. I was chatting to Elif earlier on and saying if I could turn the clock back 90 years to the establishment of my party.
Should we change it to wee Nippy's authoritarian, I'm a lesbo, hate white men, anybody welcome apart from white men, which we'll quite happily crush, and destroy and reduce the birth rate and just let people walk in from regressive countries as long as we can push the socialist neo-communist agenda with wee Nippy in front of her daft fist. What a clown.
And choose its name all over again.
Wee Nippy's party, Nippy Knickers, Nippy Nora, Nippy I'm shit at my day job, but I stoat about like Herr Führer. Wee Nippy, can I paint a wee moustache under your lip?
I wouldn't choose the name it's got just now. I would call it something other than the Scottish National Party. Now,
so wee Nippy would call it something, and I think this is her speaking louder, because she thinks nationalism is a problem. I think it's communism that's a problem. I think it's the far left that's a problem. And I think it's you that's a problem, because you've been disingenuous by calling yourself the Scottish National Party, where you quite clearly, and I agree, that you're anything but a nationalist. You're a sellout traitor who may be on the UN's, punishable under the UN's genocide treaty in a court of law. That's what you might be. Certainly, no, I don't think you. I think you adopt the Edward Longshank's position as well, Nippy. You've certainly got all these Islamo-fascists now jumping about in your party as well, who hate anybody that's not a non-Muslim, which is in their text, enslave them, which you've actually brought in to the highest positions where they probably shouldn't be. That's because of you.
See, why don't you change its name now? And it's like,
why don't you change it to the Sellout Scumbag Party? I'm a traitor party. Certainly not the Scottish National Party. I would sell your granny party. I'm Edward Longshanks with a bad haircut party. I'm actually a communist and I'm having an affair with Laura Slater, the elephant, the mask face woman. What could it be? I'm an intersectional lesbian feminist who kids on them in a sham marriage and a sham political party that I'm not actually a nationalist. I'm actually an intersectional Marxist feminist who wants to replace the indigenous population with another population, and I'm involved in the stopping the burst for the native indigenous population. Is that the type of individual you are, Nippy? Would that be more accurate of the reflective policies that you've brought in over the last 7 or whatever years you've been in? Far too long, to be brutally honest. But I mean, you're actually saying these wee nuggets of information as if somehow socialism has not been the unmitigated disaster of the 21st century. 100 million people died, but don't worry, this time it'll work. It doesn't seem to be working very well with the Cubans. The only person it works for, I think, you're living in a nice house up where I used to come from, is for the landed gentry, isn't it, Nippy?
Well, that would be far too complicated because, what those of us who do support Scottish independence are all about
is bringing in the communist utopia.
It could not be further removed from...
Because you want to bring in a communist utopia with your wee daft hand sign that I'm standing in front of. You might as well have had a Zeke Kyle or whatever else, Nippy. Because obviously what you want to bring in would be an unmitigated disaster and make us all poorer, as you said in TED Talks, which I'm not playing again. Absolute farce of a woman. Absolute just liar. I mean, there's all very well been deceptive in politics, but to lie that sort of abstractly so that nothing, whether it be your marriage or your politics or anything else about you, is all just an illusion of lies.
some of what you would recognise as nationalism.
Yeah, there's nothing nationalistic. You're a communist, virtually a Marxist communist. That's what you are, Nippy.
In other parts of the world. I mean,
yeah, I know, because you'd be seen as Fidel Castro.
I believe, for example, two things that I believe that
homosexuality rules, and let's reduce the Scottish birth rate and then replace us by an open door immigration policy.
I think run so strongly through the Scottish independence movement are firstly,
let's give away the country through open immigration.
That doesn't matter where you come from.
Oh, there she's at it again. No way, she's away again. Oh my God. Oh, what a dobo.
If Scotland is your home and you live here and you feel you have a...
Oh, if you just come here on holiday, just turn up. That's you here now. Thanks very much. You can get the houses ahead of the indigenous population who actually built them and paid for them. That's fine. No. If you come here, so it's coming from the top. I mean, it's coming from Bojo. It's coming from Nippy. They're allowing the mass immigration, and Priti Patel's going to do Nanti because it's already been designed by the globalists to allow the people in through population replacement. The Second World War didn't have to have happened because all Hitler had to do was say, all these Nazis are refugees. Just walk into Scotland. That's wee Nippy's domestic immigration policy. Or the communists. Communists could have just said, we're all refugees. Oh, come on in, guys. Are these people going to be harmful for the country? Oh, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. They're here now. They've just turned up. They can just stay. Oh, just stay. Oh, that's you Scottish as me. You're a Scottish. I'm certainly more Scottish than you, Sturgeon. I think you're Anglo. Oh, no, that's me. Oh, Scottish. Oh, Scottish. No, I had a whiskey. Oh, that's great. Oh, Edward Longshanks. Oh, he was Scottish. He was in Scotland for 5 minutes. Yeah, he was great. He was great for Scotland. Idiot.
Stake in the country. You are Scottish and you...
Oh, yeah, let's hear that again. Let's hear Doughball again. That's a bad haircut.
Don't you change its name now? And it's like, well, that would be far too complicated.
Well, but it would be more beneficial for people voting to know that you are not a Scottish National Party. That would be more beneficial, wouldn't it, Nippy? And you've told us what you're not. You haven't told us what you are.
Because, what those of us who do support Scottish independence are all about
is giving away the country through mass immigration, reducing the birth rate, and destroying the economy by holding everybody in their houses. That also prevents the birth rate, and transferring wealth, destroying businesses, small businesses, medium-sized businesses, and transferring wealth to the largest corporations, which is what my globalist paymasters actually want me to do. So Colin Fox from the Scottish Socialist Party or Scottish Socialist Scotland Party, whatever, said that Nippy is, which he was actually correct about, is part of the globalist cabal as well. But the globalist cabal work the socialists. That's why Antifa are not being ostracized, not being made a terrorist organisation, even after destroying all those businesses, because they facilitate the communism for you, but the globalist elite for me, which is what we Nippy wants. And using the Scots to facilitate her by destroying Scotland. And she's telling us what she is. She's not hiding it. This is what the globalists do. They actually tell you what they're doing. They tell you what it is. And because you're not processing it in your head, you don't actually then say, wait a minute, hold on a minute. I'm not going to vote for this clown or Laura, the masked woman from the Moby and the Marxists.
It could not be further removed from some of what you would recognise as nationalism.
Yeah, that's right. It couldn't be further removed. Listen to what she's saying. Let's hear it again. She's saying it honestly.
And saying, if I could turn the clock back, 90 years to...
Yeah, I'll shoot your fucking parents.
The establishment of my party and choose its name all over again, I wouldn't choose the name it's got just now. I would call it something other than the Scottish National Party. Now, people say, why don't you change its name now? And it's like, well, that would be far too complicated because...
So she's basically saying it. I was only joking about that anyway. She's basically saying that she's not a nationalist. She's saying it like Laura Slater's not a nationalist. She's another communist. They're telling you what they are.
You know what those of us who do support Scottish independence are all about?
It's communism. It's intersectional postmodernist Marxism, because obviously 100 million people had died in the Frankfurt School, which then brought up, went into National Socialism in Germany. Don't forget, the same things are actually happening again. We see young guys like Calamity potentially moving into ethno-nationalism because these are anti-white male doctrines by the Jewish guys from the Frankfurt School, who then went to Columbia once they get kicked out by the rise of National Socialism. So it's all there. This is mapped out. This is them doing it again.
Could not be further removed from some of what you would recognise as nationalism.
So what she's doing, listen to what she says, what she's doing could not be further removed from what you would say, which this woman's in the Turks raped and enslaved millions of people in Western Europe. They're basically pushed aside the Byzantines who were there in Byzantine. They killed 500,000 Christian Greeks. They killed 1.5 million Christian Armenians and just slaughtered them, which Nippy wants to create the open doors where she's allowing the Islamofascists in. And this woman's sitting in judgment. Come on! So Nippy's saying, my policies couldn't be further away. She's telling you.
In other parts of the world. I mean, I've got 90 years to the establishment of my party and choose its name all over again. I wouldn't choose the name it's got just now. I would call it something other than the Scottish National Party. Now, people say, why don't you change its name now? And it's like, well, that would be far too complicated because, you know, what those of us who do support Scottish independence are all about could not be further removed from some of what you would recognise as nationalism.
So what you would recognise as nationalism, that's not what they are, which is right. She's a globalist shill for the globalists who want to ethnically use mass immigration to ethnically cleanse Scotland, and by using this as a shield so that you buy into the ethnic cleansing through the use of mass immigration. And that's what they're all about.
In other parts of the world. I mean, I believe, for example, two things that I believe that I think run so strongly through the Scottish independence movement are, firstly, that it doesn't matter where you come from. If Scotland is your home and you live here and you feel you have a stake in the country, you are Scottish. And
so we de facto, a whole bunch of Islamists, they don't even have to fight to take over Scotland. They can just walk in, that same as Scottish. They could say they're refugees, then they've got the right to vote, the right to stand in elections. So we'd actually technically be immediately replaced through the use of mass immigration on Nippy's advice here, what she says she agrees with. And she's brought in legislation that anybody can stand if they're here and if they're refugees, which we know the majority are illegal immigrants, can do this.
You have as much say over the future of the country as I do.
So the maddest, most extreme Pakistani Muslims can now just come here en masse, don't have to go through immigration checks or anything else, can just turn up in dinghies, and they're as Scottish as she is. That's what she's saying. And not only that, they can then vote and take over the country, as we're seeing with the Islamists and the Muslims doing it here in Scotland, that she's facilitating. And at the same time, lording it over a decreasing female birth rate or female population or Scottish population. And she's doing that.
And that is a civic, open, inclusive.
That's globalist shilling policies for ethnic replacement, which is probably against the UN's declaration on genocide.
View of the world that is so far removed from what you would rightly fear. But
yeah, it's far removed from nationalism or any sort of policies to actually improve or increase the improvement of the life of Scots in Scotland. That's why you have been a disaster, a deliberate disaster by the globalists.
Secondly, one of the great motivators of for those of us who support Scottish independence is wanting to have a bigger voice in the world. It's about being outward looking and international. It's not.
So she wants to be governed by 20 unelected commissioners or dictated to by the UN, where we've never elected MD and we're just going to wholesale import legislation to be put into Scots law from the United Nations. But she's not importing, I see, the Declaration on Genocide, which she could be up on charges on.
Inward looking and insular. So the word is hugely problematic sometimes for those of us who, Scottish independence is about self-government. It's about running your own affairs and making your own mark in the world.
Yeah, the sooner you go, the better. Your mark's just about to end in disaster, as we have seen. You managed to sneak your way out of that and corrupt the process, and were all embarrassed by you corrupting the process about Alex Salmond. Oh, it's open and transparent, where you redacted everything and set a guy that could well have been innocent up. You're a disgusting individual and a liar.
So yeah, words do matter.
Yeah, I hope you get my words.
But I think we can't change the connotations that the word has other...
But so is socialism, Marxism. They've killed 100 million people. They've killed more people than nationalism. And the right to defend your homeland, defend against invaders, to stop being taken over or given away. In your case, you're so much a traitor, never mind the nationalist, you're so much of a traitor, you're actually literally saying that you want to give away the country through the use of mass immigration. That's basically what you've said. You're on the record for this, Nippy.
In other parts of the world, what we have to do is just demonstrate through words of our own, through deeds, through actions, through how we carry ourselves, that we stand for something completely different.
Yeah, communism, that's what you stand for. You still haven't told us what you actually stand for, and it's intersectional Marxism. That's what you stand for, Nippy. That's all your policies are directed at. That's it. And that's worse. That's worse than nationalism. That's a million times worse. They had to change Marxism through the Frankfurt School to make it cultural because they had killed 100 million people. So it's much worse under wee Nippy, under the left than anything else. 300 million under Islam have been murdered, and we've got this character who's a Scottish nationalist Islamofascist who believes in a religion that wants to enslave people and kill people who insult the child rapist death cult. 300 million people have died under this, and wee Nippy thinks that this is great. She's now thinks it's great for people of colour. There's whole continents full of people of colour, and there's no white people there. In fact, I think the white people were kicked out. So, but she's only interested in this because she's a racist. So we've got a brown racist in charge, and wee Nippy is quite happy with this because she hates white men. It's white men that's the problem, wee Nippy, because she's an intersectional lesbian feminist and who allegedly batters her girlfriend at Balmoral. So, I mean, that's it. So, there we go. We've got anti-Jewish, free Palestine. So we've got Claudia Webb, who is a total brainlet and doughball in her own right. If you've not seen the Lotus Eaters thing on Claudia Webb, you should definitely go and watch that. Absolute brainlet. And this is what's happening. We've got brown women who are shit. They're not very good. They're probably deliberately. Can you imagine? Say you get 650 MPs and you get 50 women of colour who are thick as pig shit in there. Lammy, Webb. I'm not sure if Anum is thick or not, but she's certainly a racist. What's her name? What's Fatty called? Diane Abbott. I mean, you could go through Don Butler. I mean, you've got absolute doughballs, and what you're getting through diversification is the lessening of the quality of MP. You've not got it from like Kemi, what's her name? Kemi Badenoch. She seems to know her stuff. She seems to. So it's not just the fact of being of a certain group, a certain ethnicity, or what gender. There's certain people that know their stuff regardless of what they look like. But I think we're actually getting doughballs like Claudia Webb, who's now been kicked out of the Labour Party, who might be kicked out we're seeing this time and time again. Thank you for patience in setting up my office, Zoom surgery. Not only did make a belter of a point, she used Scots lexicon to do it, normalising the use of Scots language in normal blah blah blah. We won the by-election, blah blah blah. Councillor Cole. Uncle blah blah blah. I'll just try to find anything that was relative. So here we go.
Pyramids in West Lothian, and I want to say a huge thank you to all of the NHS staff who are doing a truly incredible job, and in particular Laura, who I have met before, who did my vaccination.
90% of Gaza drink water unfit for human consumption. Yes, that's definitely an issue. Oh, what are you guys saying? Davey, are you no roasting here? You got a fan on? No, I've not got a fan on, buddy. Yeah, I'm absolutely boiling. It's boiling in here. Are you wearing your Crocs? My Crocs. Subtract English, they are not allowed to be Scots. It's absolutely amazing. There are currently 7.8 billion Scots as of 2021. Yeah, that's the logic, John. That's the logic. That's the logic. Anybody, they're all Scots. That's it. That's it. That's it. 7.8 billion Scots. Check her coupon out. She could these people be any more up their own bums. That's it, buddy. Davey, get a Terminator. Oh, that's brilliant. It's absolutely wait till we get statues of smackheads everywhere. That's it. Stop voting for them. Stop voting for them. It's dead simple. I'll start to run and get rid of them. Absolute doughballs. So I was going to go back. What I'm trying to look for here is when she was standing and she was saying, "Oh, I'm a woman and I'm a woman of colour, so vote for me," as if these are factors in an election. And she probably get voted in because the SNP are riding high. But we Nippies obviously placed her in here to get elected. So, but I mean, I think I've proved my point that Nicola Sturgeon, as I said from her own lips, as the SNP spokesman on human rights, I've asked UK government to help secure ceasefire in Gaza. In less than 1 week of being elected, I've sworn in, made a maiden speech. Oh, let's see her maiden speech. So her maiden speech is about open door immigration as well. Five years ago, she's 34.
Hi, my name's Qaisar, and I'm one of your Minorities candidates to represent the SNP here in this beautiful constituency of Edinburgh Eastern. I'm from this great city. My family moved here in the 1970s. My grandfather worked in factories and my grandmother was a seamstress. I was born at the Simpsons Hospital. And our cause of independence, many times at grassroots level, through door knocking, but also in the media. During the referendum campaign, I spoke to media from all over the world, and in fact on my 22nd birthday I spoke at an international press conference alongside former First Minister Alex Salmons and current First Minister Nicola Sturgeon. I was part of last year's party political broadcast along with our great First Minister Nicola Sturgeon, and I spoke at Anum conference last year. Again, for the general election, I was out grassroots activism, campaigning door to door. I am a proactive campaigner who will bring a wealth of experience and knowledge to the campaign.
She seems actually alright there, but I mean, it's all about hyperbole. I'm not sure what she's actually standing for on a personal level.
Is your SNP candidate for Edinburgh Eastern. I bring a wealth of experience.
You bring a wealth of experience, do you?
And I have no doubt that as your SNP candidate for Edinburgh Eastern, we together can build a strong team.
So let's see what your wealth of experience actually alluded to in your maiden speech, because I would take it your maiden speech would have been quite important. I'd take it you were.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to make the House aware that I'm going to quote some offensive remarks and that Mr. Speaker has been given advance sight of this question.
Islam for everyone. So the way that this Muslim woman is going to be, I don't know if that's her maiden speech, but this is what she's now been elected to, and this is the vote that she's going to push on behalf of the predominantly white constituents of Shots Energy or whatever it is.
On social media, I've been told that I shouldn't be involved in politics because I'm not a Brit, I'm a
You're not a Brit, you're a Paki. Well, I don't know how many Brits are involved in the Pakistani parliament. That would be interesting to find out as well. I think they're probably more worried about your Islamofascism and that being a problem.
That is of course wrong on both accounts. I'm neither a Brit nor a I'm a
well, Pack, my pal called me a Scottie, which I didn't feel, we didn't get bed hurt or shamed here. I was staying with a Pakistani guy who was living together with him in a platonic way, flat sharing way, and he called me a Scottie, which I didn't get butt hurt about, but the correct terminology is Pack and Packs, so Scot and Scots. So Packies is some probably lower IQ pluralising a plural. It's not something to lose your shit over.
A proud Scot.
Here, here. Fantastic, but are you a proud Muslim as well? I'm surprised the MD would be proud of that if your prophet was a sexual slave trader. I don't know, you might call yourself a feminist and a Muslim. Don't know how the sexual slave trade is amongst the feminists.
On social media, I've also been told to fuck off home. That,
fuck off home?
Of course, doesn't make sense. I was born in Edinburgh. Scotland is my home.
Well, apparently Scotland's MD's home if they just turn up for 5 minutes, apparently, according to Wee Nippy. So, as John rightly pointed out, I think we've got 7.8 million Scots so far.
I'm not unique, however, in any sense. And we saw this with the racial horrific...
So we're back to racial and horrific abuse, but not talking about the 50 terrorist attacks or the mass rapes of children all over the UK. It's only her who has got hurty feelings for somebody saying nasty words. It's not the actual terrorist attacks that's occurring from Muslims on the indigenous population. It's not the mass rapes of children that are being covered up by the Labour Party and the Conservatives, the Liberals, SNP. That's not the problem. The problem is hurty feelings for abuse. Basically, that's the thing that's the burning issue. She's not commented on inside her own community's problems. She's just blaming the white man. Blame the white man, which is under wee nippy what that she should be doing, because that's what her lesbian childless leader has done as well.
Horrific abuse that Black England players received on social media
from people from India and the Muslim world, all over the Muslim world. I think 70% of the abuse was from people who are Muslims in Muslim countries. Awkward.
Every day, people are racially abused online because of...
Right, okay. People are abused, full stop, online, regardless of whether it's racial or anything else. They seem to think that this communist word racism, which came from Trotsky, is like a catch-all that everybody, this is, somebody says something bad to me based on race or ethnicity, this should be bad. Your Islam preaches the extermination, the killing of homosexuals, the killing of non-believers, the killing of sex slavery for non-Muslim women. I mean that's what your book alludes to. So why are you not held accountable for that?
With a false narrative built upon prejudice and assumptions.
It's not assumptions. I've read them.
One that ministers in this government have encouraged.
Well, I'm more worried about the actual practical harm of the mass terrorist attacks that we've seen all over the UK from people within the Muslim community, and also the mass rapes, which is, again, could come down to the UN's genocides declaration or treaty, whatever. Our own governments might be held accountable to.
Afraid to say. Yesterday, the Prime Minister admitted that there's a systematic issue of racism, particularly on social media.
So if somebody's been abusive to you based on your ethnicity, that's just part and parcel of abuse. We're not going to start decrying, should not start decrying racial abuse, because then where does it stop? So can I ban ban Islam because it says to kill non-believers in Islam? So that we should, for people who blaspheme, I think a guy was just sentenced to lifetime imprisonment in Pakistan for blaspheming against a child rapist death cult. Where somehow that's it. I mean, really, the biggest problem we've got so far is Muslims trying to mass murder non-Muslims in the UK. We've already seen it in 7/7. We already saw it with the slaughter of children in Manchester. There's nothing comparable vice versa apart from hurty feelings from what you'd say is racism, which you would have to prove. I think you're the racist and you're actually projecting. You were talking there about it's very important that women of colour see other people of colour. So I think you might be the racist here.
The House may be united against racism, but we need to see...
But you're on Twitter saying that it's important that brown girls see other brown girls in positions of authority. But like Hamza Useless and Anasawa. If you want to do that, there's a whole country full of brown people. It's called Pakistan, and they're all the same religion as you and the same colour as you. If that is a major factor for you as a racist, that you require people to look like you and be the same as you, there's a full country called Pakistan that's full of people like that. If that's your primary factor, if you're that big a racist that you require that to be the same, like Hamza Useless and Anasawa do, that's why people are saying go back to there, because you'd be the same as the people there, and it's obviously a problem for you that you want to push this agenda against the indigenous population where they're browbeat by this word racist. Well, the real problem is the mass bombings or the mass attacks by Muslims across the UK and the mass rapes. That's the real issue. This word racist as a catch-all isn't really cutting it. And the biggest problem for African boys in London is from other Africans. as we saw with Sasha, whatever her name is, the black racist communist. So I think you're just projecting here, Anum. But it's good. It's good the fact that this is the most important issue to you. I doubt if this is the most important issue to the people of Airdrie and Airdrie and Shotts or whatever it is. This is your issue. So you're now been elected, all these white people have voted for you, and now you're waffling on about racism while not addressing the real crux of the issue. We've seen a Muslim stab 6 people in Glasgow. We saw another black gang chopping each other. Another black guy, 6 black guys attacked another black guy in the busy street in Scotland, probably, or Gale Street. None of that matters, but if somebody's get hurty feelings, that really matters. That's more important. Not the mass rapes or the mass murders. That's not important. We're not even going to mention that.
Action.
Come to the table.
And the fact that you're there, it can't be that racist, or you wouldn't be in the House of Parliament, would you? Show me the white male equivalent of atheists in the Pakistani Parliament. Name one. But now we've got Islamo-fascists representing Scotland as MPs.
Solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, her heirs and successors, according to law.
So the first thing that she's wanting, not that this is going to bring in more. This is basically to facilitate wee Nippy's globalist agenda. That she wants the immigration in her maiden speech. Why is this? So by Lewis Mackenzie, top scorers STV. New MP urges UK to devolve immigration in maiden speech. So again, wee Nippy's agenda for open door immigration. Is being facilitated here, newly elected. So I don't know how this is going to benefit the people of Airdrie and Shotts. We're going to elect you as a Scottish nationalist, and what you're going to do on your maiden speech is say that you want the power of immigration transferred to the Scottish Parliament, so we Nippy and you can have open door immigration, and use mass immigration to ethnically cleanse and push out Scots from the job, while at the same time bringing in critical race theory. Let's see the so assessment of Scottish Government's race equality framework to racial equality. So what they mean is basically pushing out the indigenous population. So if you've got 10 jobs, you've got 100 jobs. Racial equality is not about a meritocracy or the best person getting the job. What they're talking about is by quota almost. So it doesn't matter if the person's good, bad or indifferent. That person will get the job based on their things. Police Scotland protecting rapists' feelings. The fight back against... so this is Spikes. Moral superiority is a dangerous thing, especially when it slips into self-righteousness. It ends up replacing both common sense and empathy. At least this is the explanation for what has happened in Scotland, where the state institutions have been so thoroughly captured by the moral certainty of gender ideology, which is what that daft horseface Laura Slater was saying. The English woman, the English nationalist, has been thoroughly captured by the moral certainty of gender ideology. Again, back to the intersectionality that Wee Nippy is pushing as well, that even male rape suspects are able to identify, so the male rapist identifies female. That's right, women at their most vulnerable and traumatized as crime victims are expected to appease their alleged attackers. Obviously, again, back to critical race theory. So they've cancelled out, so they're not even telling us just now. There is, it was a website that had teachers who were actually teaching. Oh, there it is, yeah. Does. There's a critical race theory. Can't find that. There was a website with teachers on it who are now teaching, because obviously this was given the say-so. So this is basically pushing it in the schools onto our children because of Wee Nippy. And we're going to get white children will be taught that they've been oppressive, but there's not been any black people in Scotland to oppress. Apart from, I mean, she's only 3 generations in, and I would suspect that that's probably the majority of whom are in my lifetime, or within the last 50 years, maybe slightly longer, maybe the 60s, but there wasn't many black or brown people to oppress. Who won a seat in Airdrie and Shotts by-election last week, said the UK points-based system introducing at the start of the year is deeply flawed. So she wants an open-door immigration policy. So the person that's elected to Airdrie and Shotts, why that's going to be relevant to Airdrie and Shotts is beyond me. It's only relevant to Wee Nippy because Wee Nippy's on the globalist agenda. She explained that she had the system been in place previously, her father would have been blocked from coming to the UK. Well, that means she may be here illegally then. Speaking during the Queen's speech debate in Commons on the plan for the NHS and social care. So this is what happens is once you elect the women of colour, they don't push for their actual underlying domestic people's or the people in their constituencies policy. They push for their own agenda. So they push for Wee Nippy's agenda, or and theirs separately, which also combine that Wee Nippy's obviously a globalist shill. She's also following the postmodernist intersectional Marxism for the rest of us, and crossing over with the Islamofascists who are pushing their own agenda, who want to Islamise Scotland through the use of the open door immigration policy, which we've already pointed out. And so we've got basically an anti-white racist here who's in charge of a constituency where the vast majority of the people in our constituency are white. So she's just been plonked on top that she's a fake nationalist like wee Nippy. I hope that all makes sense. But she was saying that the reason she should have got elected was because...
This is just a quick message to say the very best of luck to Ian the boys tonight in the playoff.
She should get elected because she's a woman. As if that was the whole thing has been a lie. The people are standing here are not nationalists. That's what I'm trying to say.
I'm Anum Qaisar-Javed and I'm your SNP candidate for the Airdrie Shots by-election that's this Thursday. We've been out in Dykehead this morning campaigning along with the Deputy First Minister. We've had a really positive response. How have you found it?
It's been great, Anum. It's been lovely being out in the constituency. We've spoken to loads of people as we've been going around doing our campaign work. I'm sure there's a lot of support out there for you and I look forward to people coming in.
Stop mumbling. So, I mean, I don't know quite how to tell you that. So the maiden speech wasn't about her constituents. The maiden speech was about her. Racism, not racism against the people in the UK, just racism against her. Somebody saying mean words to her. And that's the most important thing that she had. She was not grateful to the people of Airdrie Shots and wherever it was, Shots and whatever. No. It's all about her and about racism and about her wee Nippy pushing the globalist agenda. Go and have a look for yourself. Don't believe me. I mean, quite incredible. Quite incredible. Just another racist, guys. You've got to understand that. Just like Hum's are useless. Just another racist. But under wee Nippy's guise, the fake nationalist. Where in use the father planned to come and live in the islands, he would have been blocked. Good. This is the reason why Scotland needs independence, so the policy best suits people's needs. So the people's needs is to be replaced and have mass immigration. That's the people's needs. I don't think it is. I think the people's needs is for wee Nippy to go and we actually have more reproduction in the country. I think maybe that would be it. Establish relationships and actually go on dates and actually get to know people. That would be the establishment, but it's very difficult if you're a lesbian and you're not involved in producing children or heterosexuality, that you maybe not find a natural bedfellow for that. Certainly not been talked about in the Scottish Parliament. Anyway, I've had enough of this. I'm getting annoyed. My baby gorillas, I love you guys. What have you been saying, just in case there's anything else you want to say to me? Mask wankers. Mask wankers. There's her flick. Where? She's for Edinburgh. Why is she supporting Airdrie? Don't listen to the children of the lie. If you vote for the SNP Greens or Remain, you are the son and daughter of Satan. It's spiritual battle. Only good versus evil. No isms, as JLP says. Yeah, he's a great guy. Good luck, daughter Banner. Good luck. Why no pick Scots with hay? That's what right. Why that's right. Scots with hay. That's it, buddy. Would have a clue. Yeah, exactly. Listen, she's the guy playing the pipes. He needs to sort out the blowing the gang before the other pipers start playing Flower of Scotland. They could have picked a better tune. That's a rugby anthem. She keeps jumping all over the place. Guys, I've loved your comments. I hope you enjoyed that. It was a bit stuttery to start with, but it just gets better. Love my baby gorillas.